finally, let's go to Jim. Jim's with CyCognito, who look at apps from the outside, looking to see if they are vulnerable. So, Jim, I can't actually stretch across the Atlantic to hand you the clicker. So maybe you can give. We have this add-on for PowerPoint over here, which is the voice-activated clicker. So if you say next slide, please, we'll be able to move on that way.
Excellent. Let's begin. So next slide, please. I really love the fact that we've talked so much about the controls that we can apply to APIs, and then talked about the controls that we can apply to the network layer from no name and then from F5, because these are all controls that you want to apply to your attack surface at various times once you've identified where all of it is. Next slide. So the reason that we're doing that is because we really want to reduce our risk. We want to reduce the impact of threats against the risks in our environment. I think, Philip, you mentioned in your slide how unmanaged and unknown APIs are the biggest cause of breaches. And this coincides with research that we've seen where 69% of organizations are saying that they're breached via unknown or undermanaged assets. So visibility as the first kind of risk intelligence pain point is certainly key. Then the next step is really the application of security controls to that in a prioritized way. So it's really hard to know where to focus when it comes to these security controls. Which APIs are the 1/3 that are business critical? Who owns those APIs? So the business context and things like that. And then getting resolution on those things very quickly is obviously key, because the longer that a risk stays exposed, the greater the likelihood is that that risk is going to be utilized by a threat actor. And we've seen organizations that have a 3 to 6 month time window for fixing critical risks. I've actually had one organization, a CISO on the down low, admitted that when they acquire a new organization, the adoption of risk there, in order to get the new organization to risk parity with the parent organization, can take up to 2 years of time. And he was really looking for a way to reduce that. And that was one of the reasons that they went with CyCognito. Next slide. So what we find is we have a lot of organizations that are kind of on this maturity curve where they're using manual processes. They're trying to move more to the left, but they haven't really gotten there. They don't have enough people in order to implement all the controls that they want to get, or they're using their people right now to gain simple visibility on the problems. And with a good attack surface management solution like CyCognito, they can get much more into the green at the same kind of cost. So they're getting hours of mean time to repair. They're getting multi-factor testing and coverage for the same cost or even less cost. Next slide. So let's talk about how CyCognito works. The first thing that the CyCognito platform does is we automatically discover and attribute everything that we find in the attack surface, including APIs, including websites or web applications that might be using APIs. Next slide. Then we do attribution of those assets to the organization. The reason we do that is because by setting them in business context, you can communicate risk more effectively. And you can also measure risk more effectively, which next slide is what the next step is all about, which is automated security testing at scale. We've talked a little bit about machine learning and AI and things like that. That automation is a way to achieve lower total cost of ownership for risk management. By automating API security, by automating network security or network security controls, you can eliminate risk before they happen, but you can also reduce your total cost of ownership there. Next slide. Then we prioritize the risks with the CyCognito platform, basically presenting what one customer has described as their center of gravity for risk management. By having that center of gravity, you have that one pane of glass that you're really going to say, can the organization accept this risk? Do we want to mitigate it? Do we want to transfer it? Unfortunately, none of us these days have the ability to actually cut the cable and avoid it completely. So we're really left with the three other risk management controls. Next slide. So we accelerate remediation by having workflows into things like F5, into vendors like No Name, basically providing a way for our users of our console to go to these vendors of choice and really secure their applications down at the level that they need to secure them at. So if mitigation is the ultimate decision for managing that risk, we provide it with the CyCognito platform. Next slide. And the results kind of speak for themselves. We have 3 case studies here. You can actually go to the CyCognito page and see customer testimonials of the CyCognito platform in action. But we've increased visibility for...
Oh, have we lost Jim? Oh, that sounds like we may have lost him. So tell you what, while we see if we can, I think Jim was probably coming towards the end of his presentation anyway.
Yeah, I am.
Oh, here he is. Jim is back.
Am I still here?
You're here, Jim.
Sorry, nothing happened on my end, but something must have happened maybe with the scroll. But what we've seen is by increasing visibility, we've increased control for organizations. I had one customer who said that they had about 6,000 assets on their external attack surface. And when we came in and did our discovery, we actually were able to attribute over 600,000 assets to their attack surface. So there was what I like to call the stages of grief of attack surface management there. But once you manage through that and you get to an acceptance of that attack surface, you can really manage the risks. Next slide. And really, I'm going to end this with saying what we really want you to do is to come to the April 12th deep dive demo that I'll be presenting with BlueFort. And if you go to the next slide, there are some actions that you can take. You can go to our website. You can actually see blogs that I've written about the shift left for attack surface management, talking about attacker-like reconnaissance and how it works, and then also exploit intelligence and kind of unifying threat with vulnerability with asset context. So I invite you all to come to those resources, and thank you very much. I think I did this in under 10 minutes, right?
Thank you very much, Jim. Excellent job. Just one interesting question. Well, we haven't got time to ask all the questions which we have right now, but one thing which was interesting to me is you're talking about the attack surface and discovering attack surfaces, and then you talk about putting it in context, contextualizing it, and that's an interesting difference, isn't it? Because it's so easy maybe to have a long list of danger areas, but what are you going to do with it?
I mean, legacy vendors in this space are pretty much Nmap plus, right? They're the next gen of Nmap. They can map the entire internet, let's say. But if you don't have that information contextualized with evidence to support that contextualization, you're kind of dead in the water when it comes to actually communicating risk effectively to the business. And risk is not managed if it's not communicated.